Danny Cole walked back and forth across the small living room, bouncing his daughter gently against his shoulder. Maya had been crying for 3 hours straight, and nothing seemed to help. He had tried feeding her, changing her diaper, singing to her, and even taking her outside to look at the stars. Nothing worked. The baby just kept crying, her little face red and scrunched up in misery. The clock on the wall showed midnight. Danny felt like crying himself. His eyes burned from lack of sleep, and his arms ached from holding the baby for so long. The apartment above his mechanic shop felt too quiet except for Maya's wails. It had been 6 months since his wife died, and he still wasn't used to doing this alone. He walked to the window and looked out at the empty street. New Dakota Colony was a small settlement on the edge of human space. Most people were asleep at this hour. The streetlights cast orange pools of light on the dusty road. A few buildings stood dark and silent. His mechanic shop sat on the ground floor, and he lived in the 3 rooms above it. Maya's crying got louder. Danny patted her back and made shushing sounds, but it didn't help. He was so tired he could barely think straight. The baby bottles needed washing. The laundry was piling up. He had 2 broken-down ships in his shop that customers were waiting for. He didn't know how he was going to manage it all. Then he heard something, a heavy knock on the door downstairs, 3 loud thumps that echoed through the quiet building. Danny froze. Nobody came around at midnight. Not in this neighborhood, not for anything good. He held Maya closer and moved to the top of the stairs. The knock came again, harder this time. Whoever was down there wasn't going away. He walked down the stairs slowly, one hand supporting Maya's head, the other ready to grab the wrench he kept by the door. The baby was still crying, but a little quieter now. Danny reached the door and looked through the small window. What he saw made him take a step back. A figure stood in the shadows outside his door. It was huge, at least 7 feet tall, with broad shoulders that seemed too wide to be human. As Danny watched, the figure moved slightly, and the streetlight caught something on its back. Wings. Folded wings that gleamed with scales. Danny's heart started beating faster. He knew what that meant. Drakari. One of the dragon people. He had never seen one up close before. They were rare out here on the frontier colonies, and most humans tried to avoid them. The Drakari had a reputation for being violent and territorial. Their species was always fighting wars, and they didn't mix well with others. The knock came again. This time Danny heard a voice. It was deep and rough, but it spoke English. "Please, I need help." Danny looked down at Maya. The baby had stopped crying and was looking at the door with wide eyes, as if she could sense something important was happening. He made a decision. He unlocked the door and opened it, keeping the chain lock on. The creature in front of him was like nothing he had ever seen. She was definitely female, he could tell that much, with a narrow waist and curved hips despite her muscular build. Her skin was covered in scales that shifted colors in the light, going from deep blue to purple to almost black. Her face was humanoid but with sharper angles, and her eyes were golden with slit pupils. 2 horns curved back from her forehead, and her wings were folded tight against her back. She looked exhausted. Her scales were dull in places, and there was a cut above one eye that had been bleeding. She wore simple clothes, a worn shirt and pants that were too small for her large frame. She carried a single bag over one shoulder. "Please," she said again. Her English was heavily accented, and she struggled with the words. "I need work. I can fix things. I can work hard. I just need place to sleep." Danny stared at her. This was crazy. He couldn't let a Drakari stay here. What would the neighbors think? What would his customers say? The dragon people were dangerous. Everyone knew that. But something in her golden eyes stopped him from closing the door. She looked desperate. She looked scared. She looked like he felt every single day since his wife died. "I don't have any work," Danny said carefully, "and I can't afford to hire anyone." The Drakari woman sagged a little. Her wings drooped. "Please, I can work for food, for small space to sleep, anything." Maya made a soft cooing sound. The baby, was looking at the dragon woman with curiosity instead of fear. Danny felt her relax in his arms for the first time all night. "What's your name?" Danny asked. "Kyra. Kyra Silverscale." "I'm Danny. This is Maya." He looked at Kyra for a long moment. "You can fix things? Like machines?" Kyra nodded quickly. "Yes, ships, engines, electronics. I was pilot before. I understand machines." Danny knew he was going to regret this. He knew it was a bad idea. But he was so tired, and Maya had finally stopped crying, and this creature looked like she needed help as much as he did. "One night," he said. "You can sleep in the workshop for one night. There's a back room with a couch. Tomorrow morning you leave, understood?" Kyra's eyes went wide. "Yes, thank you. Thank you so much." Danny unhooked the chain and opened the door fully. Kyra had to duck to get through the doorway. She was even bigger up close, her shoulders nearly as wide as the door frame. She moved carefully, keeping her wings tucked tight so she wouldn't knock anything over. "The workshop is through there." Danny pointed to a door on the left. "The back room has a couch and a bathroom. There's no food, but there's water." "Is enough, thank you." Kyra started to walk toward the workshop, then stopped. She turned back and looked at Maya. "Your baby, she cries much?" Danny felt defensive. "She's been having a rough night. Usually she's better." Kyra tilted her head, studying the baby. Maya looked back at her without fear. "She feels your worry, your sadness. Babies know these things." Before Danny could respond, Kyra made a sound. It was deep and low coming from her chest. It wasn't quite singing and wasn't quite humming. It was something in between, a rumbling vibration that seemed to fill the whole room. Maya's eyes went wide. Then, slowly, they started to close. The baby's body relaxed completely in Danny's arms. Within seconds, she was asleep. Danny stared at his daughter, then at Kyra. "How did you do that?" Kyra looked sad. "Is Drakari mother sound? We make it for our young. Calms them. Makes them feel safe." She touched her stomach briefly. "I will never have young of my own, but I remember the sound." Danny didn't know what to say. Maya was deeply asleep now, breathing slowly and peacefully. She hadn't slept this well in weeks. "Thank you," he said quietly. Kyra nodded. "I go now. Let you rest. Tomorrow I leave, as promised." She walked into the workshop and Danny heard the door to the back room close. He stood there for a moment holding his sleeping daughter, wondering what he had just done. He had let a Drakari warrior into his shop. If anyone found out, they would think he was crazy. The dragon people were not supposed to mix with humans. They had their own worlds, their own rules, their own wars. But Maya was asleep. For the first time in hours, his daughter was peaceful. Danny carried the baby upstairs and laid her gently in her crib. She didn't stir. He stood watching her for a moment, listening to her soft breathing. Then he went to his own room and collapsed on the bed. He should have been worried. He should have been planning how to get Kyra out of here in the morning without causing trouble, but he was too tired to think. Within minutes, he was asleep too. When Danny woke up, sunlight was streaming through his window. He sat up fast, suddenly worried. Maya. He hadn't heard her cry at all. Was she okay? He rushed to the crib. The baby was awake, lying on her back and looking at her hands with interest. She wasn't crying. She looked content. Danny picked her up and checked her diaper, then carried her downstairs to make a bottle. As he passed by the workshop, he paused. He could hear sounds from inside. Metal clanking. Tools being used. Quiet humming in that same deep tone from last night. He made Maya's bottle and fed her, then put her in the bouncy seat he kept in the kitchen. She was happy, kicking her legs and making baby noises. Danny walked to the workshop door and opened it. Kyra was bent over one of the engines he had been working on. She had tools laid out carefully on a cloth, and she was studying the engine with intense focus. Her wings were slightly spread to give her balance as she worked. "What are you doing?" Danny asked. Kyra straightened up, and Danny saw that she looked better than last night. Her scales seemed brighter, and the cut on her head was already healing. "This engine is very broken, but I can see problem. Magnetic coil is wrong. Flow pattern is blocked." Danny walked closer and looked at the engine. It belonged to a merchant ship, and he had been struggling with it for days. You can tell that just by looking? I can feel it. Kyra held her hand over the engine, not touching it. My people, we sense electromagnetic fields. Is natural ability, very helpful with machines. Danny was skeptical, but he was also curious. What do you think is wrong with it? Kyra pointed to a specific part. Here, this connector is backward. Someone installed wrong, is causing feedback loop, makes whole system unstable. Danny looked where she was pointing. He had checked that connector twice and hadn't found anything wrong. But now that she mentioned it, he could see that the polarity markers were reversed. Someone had installed it upside down. I'll be damned, he muttered. You're right. Kyra looked pleased. I can fix? We'll be quick. Kyra fixed the merchant's engine in 2 hours. Danny watched her work, amazed at how quickly she could diagnose problems. She didn't use scanners or diagnostic tools. She just held her hands near the components and seemed to sense what was wrong. Her long fingers moved with surprising delicacy despite her size, adjusting connections and replacing damaged parts. When she was done, Danny tested the engine. It ran perfectly, smoother than it had in years. The merchant would be happy. More importantly, Danny would get paid. That was impressive, Danny admitted. He was sitting on a workbench holding Maya in his lap. The baby was watching Kyra with fascination. Kyra cleaned her hands on a rag. Is not difficult. Your tools are good. Your parts are good quality. Just needed proper diagnosis. Still, I've been working on that engine for 3 days. Danny looked at the clock on the wall. It was almost noon. You hungry? I need to make lunch anyway. Kyra's golden eyes widened slightly. You offer me food? You fixed my problem. Fair trade. They went upstairs to Danny's apartment. Kyra had to duck through every doorway and her wings kept brushing against things. She was clearly uncomfortable in the small human-sized space, but she didn't complain. Danny made sandwiches while Kyra sat carefully on the floor, not trusting the furniture to hold her weight. Maya was in her bouncy seat and she kept making noises to get Kyra's attention. The dragon woman would look at her and make soft rumbling sounds back, which delighted the baby. You're good with her, Danny said, bringing over a plate with 3 sandwiches. He wasn't sure how much Kyra ate, so he made extra. I like children. They see truth. They do not judge. Kyra picked up a sandwich carefully with her clawed fingers. Human food is new to me. It's just ham and cheese. Nothing fancy. Kyra took a bite and chewed thoughtfully. Is good, thank you. They ate in silence for a moment. Danny found himself watching Kyra. She moved with careful control, always aware of her size and strength. Her scales shifted colors slightly depending on how the light hit them. Her wings were folded so tight against her back that they almost disappeared. Can I ask you something? Danny said. Kyra nodded. Why are you here? On New Dakota, I mean. There aren't many Drakari out here on the frontier. Kyra was quiet for a long time. She finished her sandwich before answering. I run away. From my home world. From my family. From my duty. What duty? Marriage. Combat marriage is our way. Kyra's voice was flat, emotionless. When Drakari female reaches proper age, she must marry strong male. They fight together, produce offspring, serve clan. Is expected. Is tradition. Danny thought about that. But you didn't want to? I was pilot, wing commander. I led 40 fighters in 3 campaigns. I was good at my job. I loved flying. Kyra looked at her hands. Then my father decided it was time. He chose male for me. Very strong, very respected, good warrior. You didn't love him. Love is not required. Duty is required. Strength is required. Kyra's scales darkened slightly, but I refused. I said I would not stop flying to produce children. I said I would not submit to male dominance. My father was ashamed. My clan was dishonored, so I left. Danny adjusted Maya in his lap. That took courage. Kyra made a bitter sound. Courage or cowardice, depending on who you ask. My people think I am traitor. I abandoned my squadron, my family, my responsibility. I brought shame to my clan name. But you're free. Yes, I am free. Kyra looked at Maya. And I am alone. I have no family now. No clan, no home. I drift from place to place looking for work, trying to survive. Most places do not want Drakari. They are afraid of us. They think we are violent, dangerous. Danny knew she was right. He had thought the same thing when he first opened the door. Are you? Dangerous, I mean? Kyra met his eyes. I am trained warrior. I have killed many enemies in combat. I am strong enough to tear metal with my hands. My teeth can bite through steel. My claws can cut stone. She looked back at Maya, who was reaching out toward her. But I choose not to be dangerous. I choose peace. That is why I left. Something in her voice made Danny believe her. He thought about his own choices, his own struggles. I get it, he said quietly. Sometimes doing the right thing means going against what everyone expects. Kyra tilted her head, curious. You understand? Danny looked at Maya. My wife died when Maya was born. Complications during delivery. The doctor said there was nothing anyone could do. But I keep thinking maybe I should have seen signs sooner. Maybe I should have insisted on more tests. Everyone told me to move on, to find someone to help with the baby, to get back to normal. But I can't. I'm just trying to get through each day. You feel guilt? Yeah, I do. Guilt is heavy burden. Kara extended one finger carefully toward Maya, and the baby grabbed it with both tiny hands. But you care for your daughter well. She is healthy, happy. You are a good father. Danny felt unexpected tears in his eyes. Nobody had said that to him before. Everyone just saw him struggling and assumed he was failing. Thank you. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Maya played with Kyra's finger, fascinated by the scales. Outside, Danny could hear the sounds of the colony waking up for the afternoon. Ships flying overhead. People talking in the street. Normal life continuing. I should go, Kara said finally. I have stayed longer than one night already. Danny surprised himself with his next words. What if you didn't go? Kyra looked at him, confused. I need help in the shop, Danny explained, speaking quickly before he could change his mind. You're good with engines. Really good. And Maya likes you. She slept through the whole night for the first time in months. I can't pay much, but I can offer room and board. The back room in the workshop. It's not fancy, but it's private. You would let me stay? But I am Drakari. Your customers will not like it. Then they can take their business somewhere else. Danny was gaining confidence in his idea. Look, we can help each other. You need a place to stay and work. I need help with the shop and the baby. It makes sense. Kyra was silent for a long moment. Her scales rippled through different colors, which Danny was learning meant she was processing strong emotions. You would trust me? In your home? With your child? Maya already trusts you. That's good enough for me. Kyra's eyes became suspiciously bright. I accept. I will work hard. I will prove I am worthy of this trust. Just be yourself. That's all I ask. They shook hands, Danny's small human hand disappearing in Kyra's large-scaled palm. It felt right somehow, like the universe had brought them together for a reason. The next few days were an adjustment. Danny's first customer arrived the next morning and nearly walked out when he saw Kara. Danny had to do a lot of fast talking to convince the man to give her a chance. But when Kara fixed his ship's power converter in half the time Danny would have taken, the customer left satisfied. Word spread quickly through the colony. Some people were curious and came to see the Drakari mechanic. Some were hostile and refused to enter the shop. A few were openly supportive, saying it was about time New Dakota became more inclusive. Danny's neighbor, an older woman named Betty, came over to lecture him about the dangers of aliens. They're not like us, she warned, standing in his shop with her arms crossed. They have different values, different morals. You're putting yourself and that baby at risk. Danny had been working on an engine, but he stopped and turned to face her. Betty, Kara has been here for 5 days. She's fixed 10 ships, she's been kind to everyone, and she's helped me take care of Maya. What exactly is the risk you're worried about? Well, everyone knows Drakari are violent. They're always fighting wars. So are humans. We have wars too. That's different. How? Betty didn't have a good answer for that. She left in a huff, but Danny noticed she didn't actually stop shopping at the store next door, which meant she had to walk past his shop every day. She always looked away pointedly when she saw Kyra. Not everyone was like Betty. A merchant named Carlos became a regular customer after Kyra fixed his ship's navigation system. I don't care what species you are if you can do good work, he told her. You're the best mechanic I've found in 3 colonies. Kara seemed to grow more confident each day. She started suggesting improvements to the shop's layout, ways to organize tools more efficiently. She created a system for tracking which parts they needed to order. She even painted the front of the shop, making it look more professional. At night after the shop closed, Kara would help with Maya. She would hold the baby while Danny cooked dinner. She learned to warm bottles and change diapers. Though her large claws made it challenging at first, she never seemed to mind the crying or the mess. One evening, Danny came upstairs to find Kara sitting on the floor with Maya in her lap. The baby was laughing as Kara made her scales change colors, shifting from blue to purple to green. It was apparently something Drakari could do to communicate emotions, but it worked as entertainment for a human baby. "She is special child," Kara said, noticing Danny in the doorway. "Very alert. Very smart." Danny sat down next to them. Her mother was smart too. She would have loved watching Maya grow up. "Tell me about her. Your wife." Danny hadn't talked about his wife much since she died. It hurt too much. But somehow, sitting there with Kara and Maya, he found the words. He told her about how they met, how they fell in love, how excited they were. Danny first heard about the Drakari ship from Carlos, the merchant who had become their regular customer. He came into the shop looking worried, carrying Maya's favorite toy that she had dropped the day before. "Danny, you need to know something," Carlos said quietly, glancing at Kyra, who was working in the back. "There's a Drakari military ship at the spaceport, Warriors. They're asking questions about a deserter." Danny's blood went cold. He looked over at Kyra, who had gone very still. Her scales had turned almost black, the color of fear. "How many?" Danny asked. "5 that I saw. They're armed. They've been showing a picture around, asking if anyone has seen this person." Carlos pulled out his datapad and showed Danny an image. It was Kyra, but different. She wore military armor and stood proudly among other Drakari warriors. She looked fierce and confident. Nothing like the gentle mechanic who hummed lullabies to his daughter. Kyra walked over slowly. She looked at the image and closed her eyes. "They found me. Who are they?" Danny demanded. "My old squadron. Or what remains of it. They hunt deserters. Is law among my people. To abandon post in time of war is death crime." Kyra's voice was steady, but Danny could see her hands shaking. "I knew they would come eventually. I hoped I had more time." Carlos looked between them. "I didn't tell them anything. But others might have. The whole colony knows about the Drakari mechanic working here." "Thank you for warning us," Danny said. His mind was racing. "Kyra, how much time do we have?" "Not much. If they are showing pictures, they already know I am here. They are following procedure, making official inquiries, but soon they will come directly." Kyra knelt down to Danny's eye level. "I will leave. Tonight. I will not bring trouble to you and Maya." "No." The word came out before Danny could think about it. "You're not going anywhere. Danny, you do not understand. These warriors will take me by force if necessary. They do not care about human law. Interspecies treaties give them right to claim their own people. Then we'll figure something out. There has to be a way." Danny looked at Carlos. "Is there anyone on this colony who knows law? Real law, not just local stuff?" Carlos thought for a moment. "There's Lisa Grant. She's a lawyer, moved here from the core worlds about a year ago. She's kind of strange. Really into alien rights and that sort of thing. Most people think she's crazy. Where can I find her? She has an office near the government building. But Danny, I don't know if she can help. The treaties are pretty clear about this stuff." Danny was already moving, scooping up Maya from her playpen. "Watch the shop, Kara. I'll be back soon." He ran most of the way to the government district, Maya bouncing in his arms. The baby thought it was a game and giggled. Danny's mind was spinning with possibilities and fears. He couldn't lose Kara. Maya needed her. He needed her. She had become family. Lisa Grant's office was small and cluttered with books and datapads. The lawyer herself was a thin woman with sharp eyes and gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. She looked up when Danny burst through the door, barely pausing in her typing. "Let me guess," she said. "Drakari mechanic. Military hunters. You want to know if there's any legal way to protect her?" Danny stared. "How did you know?" "I've been expecting someone to come see me since that ship landed. Sit down. You're making me nervous pacing like that." She gestured to a chair and continued typing. "There is a way, but it's complicated and not guaranteed. Tell me everything about her situation." Danny talked for 20 minutes, telling Lisa everything Kara had shared with him about why she left, about the forced marriage, about her refusal to submit to tradition. Lisa asked sharp questions, taking notes on her datapad. Maya fell asleep in Danny's arms during the conversation. When he finished, Lisa sat back in her chair and steepled her fingers. Okay, here's the situation. Interspecies treaties do allow species to reclaim their own criminals and deserters. However, there's a provision in Earth Alliance law that supersedes those treaties in certain cases. It's called the Refugee Protection Act, established about 10 years ago after a case involving a Zephian woman fleeing ritual sacrifice. Can it apply to Kyra? Maybe. The key requirements are that the person must be fleeing persecution, that returning them would result in serious harm or death, and that the persecution is based on something the Alliance considers a fundamental right violation. Forced marriage and reproductive coercion could qualify, but we'd need to prove it. Danny felt a spark of hope. How do we prove it? Testimony, mostly. Kyra would need to formally apply for asylum and explain her case to a magistrate. We'd need documentation of Drakari marriage laws and practices. Ideally, we'd have supporting witnesses. Lisa paused. The problem is that Drakari consider their marriage traditions sacred and private. They don't like outsiders interfering. This could cause a diplomatic incident. I don't care about diplomacy. I care about Kyra. Lisa smiled slightly. Good. Because the magistrate will want to know why a human is fighting so hard for a Drakari deserter. You'll need to explain your relationship with her. She's my employee, my friend. She helps me take care of my daughter. Is she more than that? Danny looked at the lawyer sharply. No, it's not like that. She's family. That's the only way I can describe it. She's family. Lisa nodded slowly. That might be enough. Family bonds are recognized across species. If you're willing to formally claim her as part of your household, it strengthens her case. She started pulling up documents on her screen. We need to move fast. If those warriors come for her before we file the asylum claim, they can take her under treaty law. Once the claim is filed, she's under Earth Alliance protection until the hearing. How long will that take? Could be days. Could be weeks. Depends on the magistrate's schedule and how hard the Drakari push back. Lisa looked at him seriously. Danny, you need to understand what you're getting into. If we do this, the Drakari military will be angry. They might boycott New Dakota. They might cause trouble for other humans in their territory. Are you prepared for that? Danny looked down at Maya, sleeping peacefully in his arms. He thought about Kyra, who had shown up at his door desperate and alone, who had helped him through the hardest months of his life, who made his daughter laugh. He thought about what it meant to be family. File the claim, he said. Do whatever you need to do, Lisa grinned. It made her look 10 years younger. I was hoping you'd say that. I love a good fight. Give me 2 hours to prepare the documents, then bring Kyra here. We'll file before sunset. Danny hurried back to the shop. When he walked in, he found Kyra sitting very still on a workbench, her wings wrapped around herself like a shield. She looked up when she heard him. Danny, I have been thinking. I should turn myself in. The warriors will leave the colony in peace if I surrender. You and Maya will be safe. No way. Danny set Maya in her playpen and walked over to Kyra. We have a plan. There's a lawyer who thinks she can get you asylum. We file the paperwork today and then you're under Earth Alliance protection. Kyra's eyes widened. This is possible? Lisa seems to think so. But it means a legal fight. A hearing. Possibly a lot of public attention. Are you okay with that? I do not want to cause trouble for you. Too late. You already caused trouble by making me care about you. Danny managed to smile. Come on, we're family now. Family fights for each other. Kyra's scales shifted through several colors rapidly. Family, she repeated softly. I have not had family in a long time. Well, you have one now. Me, you, and Maya, that's our family. And we don't abandon family. They went to Lisa's office together that afternoon. The lawyer had prepared an impressive stack of documents. Kyra had to tell her story again, this time formally recorded. She talked about her years as a pilot, about the pressure to marry, about her father's ultimatum. She described the Drakari breeding program, how females were valued only for producing strong offspring, how she would have been forced to give up everything she loved. Lisa asked hard questions. Did you kill anyone when you escaped? I disabled 3 guards. I did not kill. I could have, but I chose not to. Why not? Because I wanted to prove I could choose peace. I wanted to be different than what they expected. Good, that's very good. Lisa made notes. Did you steal anything? I took my personal ship. It was mine, given to me for service. But they say I stole it because I used it to flee. We can argue that. The ship was your property. Lisa looked up at Kara. One more question. If you're sent back, what happens to you? Kyra was quiet for a moment. I will be executed. Not quickly. They will make example of me. Public shaming. Then combat trial where I fight multiple opponents at once. I will not survive. And before I die, they will say I brought dishonor to my clan, that I am coward and traitor. My name will be erased from all records. I will be forgotten. Danny felt sick hearing it laid out so plainly. Lisa nodded grimly. That's persecution. That's definitely persecution. Okay, I'm filing this right now. She pressed several buttons on her datapad. Done. As of this moment, Kyra Silverscale is under Earth Alliance protection pending asylum hearing. If those warriors try to take her, they'll be violating Alliance law. Will that stop them? Danny asked. It should. But we'll see. Lisa stood up. Go home, stay together. I'll contact you as soon as I know when the hearing is scheduled. The pounding on the door shook the whole building. Danny was upstairs feeding Maya breakfast when he heard it. The sound was heavy and aggressive, metal-reinforced fists hitting wood. He looked at Kyra, who was washing dishes. Her scales had gone dark with fear. Stay here with Maya, Danny said, heading for the stairs. No, they come for me. I should face them. Just give me a minute. Danny went down to the shop and looked through the window. 5 Drakari warriors stood outside his door. They wore military armor that gleamed in the morning sun. Each one was massive, even bigger than Kyra. One stood in front, his scales a deep red color that marked him as high rank. His wings were spread slightly in an aggressive display. Danny took a deep breath and opened the door, keeping the security chain on. Can I help you? The red-scaled warrior looked down at him with golden eyes that showed no emotion. I am Commander Krell Blacktalon. We seek deserter Kyra Silverscale. We know she is here. Surrender her to us. I'm sorry, but Kyra is under Earth Alliance protection. She's filed for asylum. You can't take her. Commander Krell's eyes narrowed. Human law does not apply to Drakari warrior. Interspecies treaty gives us authority to reclaim our own. Stand aside. The Refugee Protection Act supersedes treaty law in cases of persecution. She's not going anywhere until there's a hearing. Danny tried to keep his voice steady. He was terrified, but he wasn't going to show it. You harbor criminal. This makes you criminal also. The commander's hand moved to the weapon at his belt. Last chance. Give her to us or we take her by force. Danny heard footsteps behind him. Kyra came down the stairs, moving slowly and deliberately. She was still in the casual clothes she wore for work. No armor or weapons. She stood beside Danny, and he noticed she was careful to keep her wings folded and her posture non-threatening. Commander Krell, she said in her own language, her voice formal. Then she switched to English for Danny's benefit. I will not return. I claim sanctuary under Earth Alliance law. The commander responded in Drakari, his voice harsh and angry. Kyra answered back, her tone firm but respectful. They went back and forth for several exchanges while Danny watched, not understanding the words but reading the body language. This was a confrontation between former military members, full of protocol and hierarchy. Finally, Commander Krell switched back to English. You bring shame to your clan, Kyra Silverscale. Your father weeps for his dishonored daughter. Your squadron thinks you dead. It would be mercy. My squadron thinks I am dead? Kyra's voice cracked slightly. We told them you died in combat. Was kinder than truth. That you are a coward who runs from duty. The commander's scales rippled with contempt. You were a good warrior once. Best I ever trained. But you are weak. You choose comfort over honor. I choose freedom over slavery, Kyra shot back. I choose to live my own life rather than life clan dictates. That is not weakness. That is courage. Courage? Commander Krell laughed, a harsh sound. You hide behind human laws. You hide behind this small male and his infant. Where is courage in that? Danny had heard enough. He stepped forward, putting himself between the warriors and Kyra. She's not hiding. She's standing up for her rights. And yes, I'm supporting her because that's what decent people do. They help each other. The commander looked at him like he was an insect. You do not understand our ways, human. You cannot understand. Move aside before you get hurt. No. Danny's heart was pounding so hard he thought it might burst, but he held his ground. You're on Earth Alliance territory. You have no authority here. If you try to take her by force, you'll be breaking the law. Your law means nothing to me. Then you're a bully, just like the ones who tried to force Kyra into a life she didn't want. Danny was shaking now. but with anger instead of fear. You talk about honor and duty, but what's honorable about forcing someone into marriage? What's honorable about treating women like they're just tools for breeding? Commander Krell's eyes flashed dangerously. You dare judge our culture? Your species is weak, soft. You know nothing of strength, nothing of discipline. I know enough to recognize cruelty when I see it. Danny felt Kara's hand on his shoulder, trying to pull him back, but he stayed where he was. And I know that real strength means protecting people, not controlling them. For a long moment, nobody moved. The 5 Drakari warriors stood on the street, weapons at their belts. Danny stood in his doorway, unarmed and much smaller, but refusing to back down. Behind him, Kara watched with wide eyes. Then one of the other warriors spoke. He was smaller than the commander, his scales a deep blue. Commander, the human is right about the law. If we act against Alliance regulations, there will be consequences. Perhaps we should follow proper procedures. Commander Krell turned his fierce gaze on the blue-scaled warrior. You question my judgment, Vex? Vex. Danny remembered that name. This was Vex Ironwing, Kyra's former second-in-command, the warrior she had worried about. Vex met the commander's eyes steadily. I question wisdom of creating diplomatic incident. We should lodge formal complaint with Alliance. Demand hearing, prove our case through their system. This is proper way. Their system is corrupt, designed to protect weak and criminal. Perhaps, but attacking Alliance citizen on Alliance soil will not help our cause. It will only make us look like aggressors. Vex glanced at Kara and something flickered in his expression. And if Kara truly believes she is right, let her prove it in their courts. Let her defend her choice publicly. Commander Krell was silent for a long moment. Then he turned back to Danny and Kara. Very well. We will follow your weak laws. But know this. When hearing comes, we will tell truth about you, Kara Silverscale. We will show magistrate that you abandoned your post, betrayed your people, brought dishonor to all Drakari, and when they send you back to us, your death will be long and painful. I am not afraid, Kara said, though her voice trembled slightly. The commander sneered. You should be. He turned and walked away, the other warriors following. Only Vex paused, looking back at Kara one more time. He said something in Drakari, too quiet for Danny to hear. Then he too left. Danny closed the door and locked it. His hands were shaking so badly he could barely work the bolt. Kara stood very still, her scales shifting through different colors rapidly. Danny, she whispered, you should not have done that. You put yourself in danger. I put myself between you and them. That's different. Danny leaned against the door, his legs feeling weak. God, I've never been so scared in my life. You were very brave. Foolish, but brave. Kyra's wings drooped. What did Vex say to you? In Drakari at the end? I don't know. He said something to you, not me. What was it? Kyra's eyes were distant. He said, fly true. Was thing we used to say to each other before missions. It means stay on your path, do not falter. He still uses our old saying with me. Does that mean he's on your side? I do not know. Maybe he remembers friendship we had. Or maybe he simply wants proper procedure followed. Kyra touched her chest. But it gives me small hope. If Vex speaks for me, Commander might listen. They heard Maya crying upstairs. The confrontation had scared her. They both ran up to find her standing in her playpen, tears streaming down her face. Kyra picked her up immediately, making the deep rumbling sound that always comforted the baby. Is okay, little one. Is safe now. Kiki is here. Maya had started calling Kyra Kiki a few weeks ago. It was her first word, and it made Kara cry happy tears every time she heard it. Danny made breakfast again since the first meal was now cold. While they ate, he called Lisa Grant. The lawyer answered immediately as if she had been waiting for his call. They came, didn't they? She said. How did you know? Because I just got notification that the Drakari have filed a formal complaint with the Alliance. They're demanding immediate hearing and claiming that Kyra is a violent criminal who poses danger to the colony. They've also requested that she be held in detention until the hearing. Danny's stomach dropped. Can they do that? They can request it. Whether the magistrate grants it is another matter. We have a hearing scheduled for tomorrow morning to address their detention request. You and Kyra both need to be there. Tomorrow? That fast? When there's a potential diplomatic incident, things move quickly. Be at the Colonial Courthouse at 9 in the morning. And Danny? Bring Maya. Bring the baby? Why? Because the magistrate needs to see the full picture of Kyra's life here. She needs to see that Kyra is integrated into the community. that she has ties here, that she's not a danger. Lisa paused. And honestly, it's harder to separate a family when you see the child who calls her Kiki. Danny understood. It was strategy, but it was also truth. The next morning, they walked to the courthouse together. Kyra wore the nicest clothes she had, which were still just work pants and a simple shirt that Danny had bought her. There wasn't much clothing made for 7-foot-tall dragon women. Danny wore his best shirt and carried Maya, who was dressed in a cute outfit that his wife had picked out before she died. The courthouse was full of people. Word had spread about the hearing, and it seemed like half the colony wanted to watch. Danny saw Betty from next door sitting in the back with her arms crossed. He also saw Carlos and several other regular customers who nodded at him supportively. The 2 weeks before the hearing passed in a blur of preparation and worry. Lisa Grant came to the shop almost every day, interviewing Kyra about her life on the Drakari homeworld, documenting evidence of forced marriage practices, preparing testimony. She also interviewed Danny about how Kyra had integrated into the colony and her relationship with Maya. But it wasn't all legal preparation. Word of the upcoming hearing had spread beyond New Dakota. News crews from 3 other colonies arrived wanting to cover the story. A Drakari deserter seeking asylum among humans was apparently big news across the frontier. Danny found reporters camped outside his shop asking questions, taking pictures. Some of the attention was positive. A human rights group sent messages of support. Several other refugees from different species reached out to share their own stories. An article in a core world newspaper called Kyra brave for standing up to oppressive traditions. But other attention was hostile. The Drakari government issued a formal statement condemning Kyra as a traitor and demanding her return. Human supremacist groups protested outside the courthouse, claiming that aliens were trying to subvert human law. Someone spray-painted "Alien Lover" on the side of Danny's shop. Through it all, life had to continue. Danny still had ships to fix and a baby to care for. Kyra still worked in the shop, though she was more quiet than usual, clearly stressed about the hearing. Maya, oblivious to the tension, continued to grow and learn, taking her first wobbly steps during the 2nd week. The night before the hearing, Danny couldn't sleep. He sat in the living room watching old videos of his wife on his datapad. She had been so excited about the baby, making plans for Maya's future, talking about teaching her to read and showing her the stars. Danny wished she could see their daughter now. He wished she could meet Kyra. "You are awake." Kyra's voice came from the doorway. She had come upstairs from the workshop, unable to sleep either. "Yeah, just thinking." Kyra sat down carefully on the floor beside his chair. "About your wife?" "About everything. About how nothing turned out like I planned. She was supposed to be here. We were supposed to raise Maya together. Instead, I'm sitting here the night before a hearing that will decide if my daughter's caretaker gets deported or not. I am sorry. I brought this trouble to you." "No." Danny shut off the datapad and looked at her. "You brought help when I needed it most. You brought kindness. You brought something good into our lives. The trouble came from people who can't accept that." Kyra's scales shifted colors in the dim light. "Tomorrow in hearing, they will ask about our relationship. What we are to each other." "I know. What will you say?" Danny thought about it. "I'll say your family, because that's the truth. You're not my employee anymore, not really. You're not just Maya's caretaker. You're part of our family, but we are not related. Not by blood. Not by marriage. Not even by species. So what? Family is more than blood. It's the people who show up when you need them. The people who stay when things get hard. The people you want beside you when the world falls apart." Danny smiled slightly. "You knocked on my door at midnight, desperate and alone. I opened it holding a crying baby, desperate and alone, and somehow we became family." Kyra was quiet for a long moment. "Among my people, family is clan. Bloodline, tradition, we do not choose family. It is given at birth. Well, humans do it differently. We choose, and I choose you." Kyra's eyes became bright with emotion. "I choose you also. You and small Maya. My strange, wonderful human family." They sat together in comfortable silence until the sky began to lighten. Then they got ready for the hearing that would determine their future. The courthouse was packed. Every seat was filled and people stood along the walls. Danny saw the same magistrate, Helen Price, sitting at the bench. Lisa Grant sat at one table with Kyra. Commander Krell and another Drakari sat at the opposite table. Vex and the other warriors were in the audience watching silently. Danny sat in the front row holding Maya. The baby was being surprisingly good, playing quietly with a toy. Several of Danny's customers sat near him, including Carlos and even Betty. Magistrate Price called the hearing to order. This is a full asylum hearing for Kara Silverscale. The petitioner claims she would face persecution if returned to Drakari territory. Commander Krell opposes the asylum claim. We'll hear from both sides, then I'll make my ruling. Counselor Grant, you may begin. Lisa stood and presented Kara's case clearly and powerfully. She showed evidence of Drakari marriage laws that required females to breed with assigned males. She presented testimony from other Drakari who had spoken out against these practices and been punished. She showed medical records of Kara's injury during her escape. Then she called Kara to testify. Kara walked to the witness stand with her head held high. She answered every question honestly, describing her life as a pilot, the pressure to marry, her refusal, her father's ultimatum. She explained how she disabled guards without killing them during her escape, how she stole her ship and fled to human space. Why come to humans? Commander Krell demanded when it was his turn to question her. Why not stay among your own kind? Because humans value individual choice. They believe people should control their own lives. This is not weakness, as you claim. This is strength. You call abandoning your duty strength? You call running away courage? I call choosing freedom over slavery courage. I call refusing to be breeding tool for clan courage. I call building new life through honest work courage. Kyra's voice grew stronger. You say I am coward, but I think you are coward. You hide behind tradition because you fear change. You enforce cruel laws because you fear what happens if people choose differently. The courtroom erupted in murmurs. Commander Krell's scales turned almost black with rage. You dare insult me? You dare question Drakari tradition? I dare question any tradition that treats living beings as property. I dare stand against any system that denies basic rights. Kyra looked directly at the magistrate. I left Drakari territory not because I am criminal. I left because staying meant losing myself, and I would rather die free than live as slave. The magistrate banged her gavel for silence. Commander Krell, you'll have your turn to present evidence. Ms. Silverscale, you may step down. Commander Krell presented his case next. He showed records of Kyra's military service, her desertation, the ship she took. He called her a thief and a traitor. He argued that allowing her asylum would encourage other Drakari to desert, undermining military discipline. She is not refugee, he insisted. She is criminal hiding behind human sympathy. If you grant asylum, you insult Drakari people. You say our laws and traditions are wrong. You interfere with our internal matters. Your internal matters include forcing women into marriages against their will. Magistrate Price pointed out. The Alliance takes a dim view of such practices. It is our culture. Who are you to judge? I'm a magistrate in Earth Alliance territory, and I'm empowered to judge whether someone faces persecution. That's literally my job. The commander sat down, clearly frustrated. Then Lisa called Danny to testify. Danny walked to the witness stand, his heart pounding. He had never been comfortable speaking in public, but he had to do this. For Kyra, for Maya, for their family. Lisa asked him questions about how Kyra came to work for him, how she had helped with the shop and with Maya. Danny answered honestly, describing those first few days, how Kyra had calmed his crying baby with a lullaby, how she had proven herself as a mechanic, how she had become indispensable to his life. Mr. Cole, what is your relationship with Kyra Silverscale? Lisa asked. She's family. Can you elaborate on that? Danny looked at Kara, then at Maya in the front row. When my wife died, I didn't think I could do it alone. Raising a baby, running a business, just getting through each day, it was too much. Then Kyra showed up at my door and somehow we made it work. She's not just helping me. She's part of our lives. Maya's first word was Kiki. The baby reaches for Kyra when she's upset. She trusts her completely. Do you trust her? With my daughter's life. With my own life, completely. Even though she's Drakari? Even though her species has a reputation for violence? I don't judge people by their species. I judge them by their actions. And Kyra's actions have shown me that she's kind, patient, hardworking, and loyal. She's exactly the kind of person I want in my daughter's life. Commander Krell stood up. Magistrate, I request permission to question witness. Granted. The commander approached Danny with clear hostility. Mr. Cole, you claim Kyra Silverscale is family, but you are human and she is Drakari. You share no blood, no legal bonds. How is she family? Family isn't about blood. It's about love and commitment and showing up for each other. Sentimental nonsense. Family is clan, bloodline, tradition. Maybe for you, but humans see it differently. We choose our families. We create bonds that matter because we decide they matter. The commander's expression was scornful. And you have decided that alien warrior is part of your family? You put your infant daughter in hands of trained killer? I put my daughter in the hands of someone who loves her. Someone who has never shown a moment of violence or anger toward us. Someone who makes my daughter laugh and helps her sleep and teaches her that people are people, no matter what they look like.